Welcome, everybody. This is the Administration and Public Works Committee, and we're going to get started. First item on our agenda is the minutes of our regular meeting of the 27th of January. Could I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, we have one person signed up for public comment. Anybody miss their opportunity, would like to sign up? Okay, first person, or the only person, is Doreen Price, who would like to speak on A7, which is snow removal. Snow removal, weeds, it's really everything that might pop up on your sidewalk, actually. Doreen? Good evening, nice to see you.
So I indicated A7 and then also APW1. In terms, I couldn't get my links to work, so I apologize that I don't have all the information, but I did scan it. In terms of A7, when codes are worded now, I think we should be really sensitive that the wording includes judgment. And I know there are numbers involved, but the goal is that people don't fall and hurt themselves. There are different ways of accomplishing that, and if somebody is innovative enough to do it a different way, please don't fine them, or at least ask. In this particular one, dirt and weeds bothers me from the standpoint of people who know me can smile on that one. But in terms of the dirt can be put on just like sand. And so then there'll be confusion. Well, I use sand and I didn't use dirt. And we really spend way too much time, as I can speak with somebody who has anxiety, doing things that we don't really need to make people unduly upset. They should be upset about wanting to do the right thing, but not with regard to being caught or weaponized with regard to a code. So I can speak on APW1 also?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Go ahead.
So on APW1, the residency requirement, I didn't get through, all the details, but I know I would advocate for even more of a residency requirement from the standpoint at least hiring people locally who need jobs like me and others. And so if there was a big effort to not only do this for the specifics, I'd ask that maybe one would consider some of this wording in terms of an all-out effort to have local people in the queue and perhaps given some help to achieve some sort of employment here. And that's it. But thank you very much.
Thank you, Doreen. Always appreciate your input. All right, so moving right along, let's get into the consent agenda. I think I'll start with A1, and then we'll go down the roll here. First item is A1, approval of the City of Evanston's payroll bills and credit card activity for the periods of January 6, 2020 through the 19th in the amount of $2,996,043.06. Bills for February 11, 2020 in FY 2019 in the amount of $1,192,185.27, and bills for February 11, 220 in FY 2020, in the amount of $3,100,545.85, as well as credit card purchases for the period ending December 26, 2019, in the amount of $165,642.04. I move approval.
Second.
All right, Alderman Braithwaite, A2? Oh, no, not A2, not A2. Moving right along, A3.
A3 is along with approval of purchase of 7 vehicles for Public Works Agency. Staff is recommending the approval of purchase of 7 vehicle pieces, equipment, Public Works operations in 2020. The following vehicle will be purchased as a sole source purchase since the vendor is a sole distributor in the Chicagoland area and specific piece of equipment. Number one is the Cromer Field Command, what is that, Camplion? Did I pronounce that correctly?
Chameleon,
Chameleon, okay, well, I
I
didn't.
think. I'm
Yeah.
not familiar with the vehicle.
Yeah, me either. The Vermeer BC 1800 XL Clipper. And then, what is that? The Jacobson HR 800. And then the used Ham HD 1 or 12 VO roller. And then the following replacement vehicles as a single purchase from the Northwest Municipal Conference Suburban Purchasing Cooperative. Ford 550 4x4. And then what else we have here? And the dollar amount is $77,779. And then a Ford 450 from Curry Commercial Center. And then I think anyway, the total of the 7 vehicles are $466,684.44.
All right, who's next? Alderman Suffredin, A4?
I move item A4, which is a contract award with Wantman Group, Inc. for the performance of a comprehensive parking study, RFP 19-62. Staff requests City Council authorize the city manager to enter into a contract with Wantman Group, Inc. for the performance of a citywide comprehensive parking study in the amount of $33,000. Funding for this contract will come from the Parking Other Improvements Fund for the fiscal year 20 budget of $1,575,000 with a year-to-date balance of $1,407,719. This is for action.
Second. Alderman Suffredin, you want this off the consent
Yeah,
agenda?
please
A5?
remove item A5.
To deal with it later?
Yeah, we'll deal with it
Okay,
in another
all right.
meeting.
A6, Alderman Simmons.
A6 is for introduction, ordinance 2020, amending Title 10, Chapter 4, Section 1, stopping, standing, or parking prohibited in specific places. Transportation and Parking Committee and staff recommend City Council adoption of ordinance 2020, amending Title 10, Chapter 4, Section 1, stopping, standing, or parking prohibited in specific places. This ordinance will address stopping, standing, or parking a vehicle that blocks part or all of a bicycle lane. A fee of $75 will be issued, and there will be an option for the right to tow the vehicle that blocks the bicycle lanes. For introduction.
Do I hear a second? If I don't, we're going to move on without a second, and we will not take this to the council. Hearing none? Moving on. A7, ordinance 24020.
Could we remove this from the consent agenda, please?
Beg your pardon?
Could we remove this one from the consent agenda?
Yes,
Thank you.
yes, okay. Also, let me just point out that Alderman Nguyen indicated she does not want to suspend the rules and take action on it tonight, A7. So we're holding A7. A8, ordinance 7020, amending chapter, oh wait, that's not on here, okay. We're moving now back to, yes, we're going to approve the consent agenda. All right, could I have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, well, we can't have any opposed. All right, so we're going to go back now and approve the Harris Amazon credit card activity first. Let's do that first. Alderman Braithwaite. A2.
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 Sorry about that. Thanks.
A2.
Madam Chairman, members of the committee, I'd like approval for the BMO Harris Amazon credit card activity in the dollar amount of $5,273.20.
Second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstention?
I abstain. Thank you.
That passes, Mr. Stonebeck. All right, now we're going to go to item A5. Alderman Suffredin.
Sure. So on this one, I'd like to thank Mike Rivera for his work, but there's some more work that we need to do. I think we're creating additional problems rather than solutions on this, and since we have the comprehensive study in the pipeline. I'd like us just to hold this for
Oh,
now.
okay.
Thank you.
So I'll announce to the council we are holding this in committee,
If you would be so kind.
Okay.
Thank you.
not tabling it, but holding.
Yes, please.
Okay. All right, and the next item is A7, ordinance 24020, Alderman Simmons.
Staff recommends City Council adoption of ordinance 24020, amending section 7293, sidewalks to be cleared of snow, ice, dirt, and weeds, which will require snow and ice removal for any winter weather accumulation. Alderman Nguyen has requested introduction and action of this item for introduction and action.
But she's withdrawing that request.
Oh, she's withdrawing
She just
that.
wants it introduced, yeah,
Okay, so it's for introduction.
as we all do, yes, okay. All right, I'll second that. Is there any discussion?
Do you have anyone from staff just to talk about the fee schedule, please?
Good evening, Johanna Leonard, Community Development Director. The fee schedule was set up to try to recoup some of the staff time associated with dealing with these properties, but it's by no means set in stone. If we were happy to have feedback. We only, if you recall, had about 15 minutes at the January meeting to get feedback, so.
So I guess if I could draw everyone's attention to page 218 on the packet, it shows the first fine is at 150, second violation is at 400, and the third violation is at 750. Anyone see any issue with that? Okay.
Oh, wait,
So I would be looking to reduce those and maybe, and I can't remember, a couple of weeks ago, we were really, really rushed. Johanna, can you remind me how many violations? I think where I left this was, we definitely wanted to hope that there was a goodwill. I was more concerned in certain business districts. So refresh my memory if it isn't here.
Sure.
in the
So
packet.
it says, any person found to have violated this subsection of the code shall be guilty of the offense as punishable. This is, my understanding is this is if they come to administrative hearing and they are found guilty. But there's several steps that have to go first. First, we don't visit until 24 hours after snow has completed falling.
Okay.
So that's the first piece. And then the second one is, so we issue a notice of violation, and then 24 hours later after that, we would return. So it's really 48 hours after the snowfall.
Okay.
But that notice of violation isn't the violation listed here in E. The notice of violation is a warning to remind people, and we, per your comments at the when we had a discussion, we've taken this, we have a draft, what we're calling internally a SNOTIS, and it's not, the pinks that people get on their, for things like not cutting your grass or other property standards, the snow is not lumped in there, because sometimes it's just hard to get home to shovel your snow or ice or de-ice your sidewalks. This just addresses the snow, so you're not you're not getting a violation that has all these other things. You're like, I cut my grass, I do all these other things, I'm a good property owner or maintainer. It just separates out the snow and reminds, in a kind and gentle way,
Yeah.
clear sidewalks.
I'm just thinking for anyone that would go out of town in the winter break, during school, vacation, the concern when I read this is, would they be open to a huge fine?
Only if they're found to have violated it. So
Fine for the third.
Also, Alderman Suffolk.
Sure. Yeah, and if I can kind of summarize our conversation this morning, I just talked to Dave Stoneback about this too. I'd love us to find a way to make this much more of a compliance encouraging thing than a enforcement thing. I understand the need for a tool for chronic violators, but I think for the most part, most property owners and residents want to comply with something like this. And if we could figure out a way to help facilitate that, rather than make it about enforcement and fines, and that's a little bit more complex than what we have here. But I talked about.
I don't know if at other ward meetings you had the hangers, but at my ward meeting, these fabulous hangers that residents could put on their neighbor's door or whoever whoever doesn't shovel, like when you're out walking your dog. And it's really friendly, and I think they are really good PR in encouraging people to shovel.
Well, and those door hangers were things that staff was putting on doors, which really isn't the best use of staff time to go do door hangers.
Oh, no,
and
right.
this gives the residents or businesses the ability to, we're giving them to the business district so then they can just give people the heads up, and it has a lot of information about, to your point, how to get help if you need help, if you're somebody who can't get out and shovel. But I think in addition to summarizing our conversation, I think there's some ways that we could build some community around removing snow. Some of the ideas that we talked about internally is seeing if some of the businesses in town would offer some kind of discount to purchasing snow supplies in an effort that if you agree to help with somebody or something,
Yeah.
there's opportunities.
I
We
mean,
want compliance.
well, right. No, I mean, that's the thing. Like if you have to walk in the street, the fact that somebody's getting a fine doesn't solve your problem.
none.
And I think, not to play like remember when, but I think in the past it was snowfall was an opportunity for teenagers to shovel and make money, and perhaps there's a way we could facilitate those relationships, or give summer, figure out a way to connect people who are willing to do this for whatever fee with people who are willing to pay a fee to get it done, and so.
And we've started to talk about some of those things internally, but not ready to launch on those. But there may be opportunities for community service and things that young people in our community need, and
Yeah.
we can work a relationship there.
And I think also the crosswalk thing gets tricky, not just for the elderly, but for, that's a wet, heavy plowed snow, and perhaps we can figure out a way to address that as well. So, thank you.
And if you read the online newspapers, it has created a really flourish of snarky comments about plowing in the crosswalks.
Thankfully, community development does not do the plowing, so.
One alderman years ago suggested that every alderman ought to get a front end loader so that we can take care of our crosswalks. All right, so any more comments on this? I don't know. So let's move for introduction. In the meantime, maybe we can all get some more of those door hangers. All right. All those in favor of introducing this, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, moving on. That's it, and now we're going to talk about, residency. Is that correct? Yes, okay. All right, so, somebody like to, items for consideration, consideration of a residency requirement for select city employees. I thought the information provided by staff was really excellent. Yes, Alderman Suffredin, are you still wanting to?
Yeah,
talk?
sure. I was just going to say, this afternoon, HR Director Jennifer Lynn sent out an email with some summaries of what happens in other communities. I think Elgin would be a model to look at, how we would potentially phase this in, or if it's something that council would like to move further with. I think that if you speak with residents, they certainly see the value in having high-level staff living in the city. I don't know that it's appropriate for every position in a city of our size, but I think if you capped it at some level, director, manager, and encouraged or required those positions to live in Evanston, it might bridge the disconnect that seems to exist sometimes between staff and residents. If we were all living in the same community and all eating the same cooking, we may have a better government product, but I don't know how to phase it in a way that's not disruptive. It may be something that would have to be phased in over time as people come into new positions and leave positions. But I think it's a discussion worth having, and I think it's something, if you talk to your constituents and just throw it out as a concept, that you'll find that people are very supportive of.
Maybe starting at a certain date, from all new employees.
Right.
At a certain level.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, and the supplementary materials that Jennifer sent out today with what other communities do, it'd be nice to get more information on how they phased it in, right? I mean, I think we don't want to
Time did
be,
she, Alderman Summer, what time did she send that?
this afternoon at 1:29.
Were you was that full council copy on that?
Yes, I'm sure
Okay.
we were.
Let's see. Yeah. I mean, you just look at how different communities handle this question, and Evanston is special and unique, but it's an expensive place to live, that's for sure. But that's something that all of our constituents are aware of because they live here. So it's something that we should be mindful of and consider as we try and create the most livable city in America.
Did it include, unfortunately, I haven't had a chance to read it. So, city manager, I know that some directors are given forgivable loan packages and incentives to move. Is that a policy, or is that something that's negotiated during the employment period?
Good evening, Madam Chair, members of the committee. That is something that is negotiated. There is no current policy in place on those relocation packages.
Okay.
And if I may, I mean, that's one of the things,
I didn't, yeah.
the email just shows like what positions at other cities are required to live in it. I don't know how they incentivize that or ramp that up or make it clear. And I don't think it's fair to people who are currently in jobs to be told that they have a timeline they have to move. But I think as we post jobs, we're in the process of hiring a new city manager, there's an opportunity to, if we want to move in that direction, and I would encourage us to move in that direction, to figure out a way to do it where everyone knows the rules going forward.
Unfortunately, I didn't read the packet, so since it's up for discussion, I would think, moving forward, each department, I don't get into, seeing the applications that come in, but if there is such thing as a scorecard, I think I would like to suggest to you and other staff members, directors who do the hiring, that there is a preference to someone who actually lives here in town. How you execute that across the different departments and various levels, I'll put in your capable hands, but I think that's something that should be considered.
That's currently the model for fire department hiring, where there is some additional points provided for
Yes.
local residency. But in terms of the employees I think you're targeting, which is directors and above, or managers, if we include those, we're really just looking for the best candidate who can serve the city of Evanston the best. And a lot of times, familial situations preclude people from living in town. If both partners work, one person may work farther away, they may need to relocate or locate in the middle of two positions. So it's certainly something that we could continue to discuss, but it would be a challenge to take a lesser qualified candidate over a higher qualified candidate for the simple sake of residency alone for a senior level management position. But I understand what you're saying.
If all things are equal.
If all things were equal, then it would be a different scenario.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Perhaps that, I think that'd be an interesting thing to discuss with our selected consultant for the new city manager. I mean, that's a requirement. The city manager must live here. But that person also does other positions. And, how many other communities that she hires for require that, and what kind of difficulty is it,
Certainly, she can lend some expertise to that conversation. I know that with the job market being what it is, and it's very competitive, and we have, some difficulty retaining employees as it is. So this would be an extra hurdle that we would be adding on to ourselves, but, potentially beneficial in the long term. I would say if we were going to potentially proceed with this, we would likely want to grandfather in existing employees and then only implement this for new hires.
I think we all agree with that.
Absolutely.
We all agree with that.
Great. So we can get some more information on how those other communities implemented this and bring it back for discussion again, potentially next month.
Yeah.
I just don't think it's unreasonable to say the head of major departments could be, I think we could have that discussion.
If I may be so bold as to be specific with instruction, could we look specifically at Elgin and how they implemented this over time. And I know, it's a larger city and a larger geographic area, but if we could have some information too on their housing costs compared to Evanston. I mean, I think if we were to do this fairly to applicants and employees, we would probably have to subsidize either with increased wages. I mean, you can't just tell somebody they have to move to a more expensive place and not make it worth their while. But I think the product that the residents would get would be better. And I think if you talk to residents, and I encourage everyone to just ask it as a hypothetical, do you think it's important that people who make managerial decisions in Evanston live in Evanston? You will find almost unanimously that people think it is. So that's all. But if we could learn more about how Elgin phased that in, that would be very helpful.
Great, we'll focus on that and bring back more information.
Thank you.
Also, just so you know, I've just done a search, and I did not get the email that.
I forwarded it to the full council, so it would have come from me.
Oh.
Not from Jennifer Lynn.
Okay.
Oh, my apologies. I gave you a bump steer on that.
All right. All right, I'll look for that,
Thank
though.
you.
All right, thank you very much. All right, could I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.